If I was an artist, who do I have to write?
Don't try to message me.
What is the goal when you're hiring somebody more junior?
In fact, she was like finishing school while she started working with us.
They also need to have in-engine work.
You can jam out in ZBrush, Blender, and Unreal as good as an entry-level 3D artist.
We have 5 pieces. Let's see if you spot an AI artist.
This is so crazy. What is going on? It feels like separate painting, mark-making methods in one image. Am I wrong?
Fantastic work.
That's exactly what we need.
Get hired.
Hi everyone, my name is Ninelli Anderson. You guys might know me as a CEO of Devoted Studios and a host at Devoted Speakeasy. Now we have an absolutely new format, How to Get Hired.
Get Hired is the new show from Devoted Studios. Here, we talk with experienced art directors and art leads about their requirements for candidates, observe portfolios, and even play games. What for? To make you closer to the work of your dream. So, watch and enjoy.
We have an amazing first guest, Jeremy. Jeremy Fenske, hi!
Hello. Good to see you again.
Jeremy now is a guru of the industry. Like his YouTube videos are 70,000 views and upward prior to currently being an art director at Singularity 6 and leading Palia. Previously to that, he was working on Elder Scrolls Online and Destiny 2 at High Moon. But I wonder, how was your first interview? Was it scary? Was it exciting?
I worked really hard when I was in college. Actually, when I was in college, I was in art school. It was a 4-year degree. Before I even graduated, I was sending out my portfolio everywhere. I just wanted some sort of response. And I think for one thing that I learned and one thing I did that kind of worked to my benefit is that I was a bit shameless.
Shame on you! Shame!
I ended up hearing back from a few studios. One of them happened to be ZeniMax Online Studios. And I was like, what is ZeniMax Online Studios? I think people are still saying that. Like, what is that?
What is that?
It was early 2009. Nobody knew what they were working on. They knew, they're part of Bethesda. I didn't even know what Elder Scrolls was. I was just like, sounds cool. Let's go. They flew me out there for the on-site, and I was like, wow, they flew me out. Like, to me, it was just like, everything was mind-blowing. They had a car come around and pick me up. I was like, whoa, VIP. And, I didn't know that was like a standard at the time, but I was just like, whoa, this is so cool.
Well, I would love to dive deep in the people that you actually hired and kind of learn like what are the things that you saw in their portfolios that could be applicable for other candidates that maybe one day applying for Palia or applying for similar projects.
Portfolio Review. In this section, we observe portfolios of artists who have already been hired to the guest's team. It will help you understand art directors' requirements better. Watch, get inspired, and catch the tips.
I would say start off, just don't feel bad if you get denied or passed. This doesn't mean you're a bad artist. This doesn't mean you did something wrong or you typed something off. Like, it isn't what the project needs at that moment. It doesn't mean you're never going to work there either, right? I think that's just something that you have to get past. Like, this is a business decision. It's not a personal decision.
It was just a job. Nothing personal.
This artist is named Daphne Fiato. This was her first job. In fact, she was like still in college, like finishing school while she started working with us. But her portfolio, like her senior portfolio, was so amazing. And she's an environment artist, asset artist on the team. So as an environment artist, the 3D environment artist, we really like to see pieces in your portfolio where you're tackling a whole scene and not necessarily just an individual asset. We want to see that you can fit everything together as a whole and have everything kind of composed in a way that's presented very nicely. So in this instance, she has this really great video kind of just going through the space. So there's really good sense of like color design, 2D fundamentals, composition, all this stuff. With our internal team, they do handle not only just asset creation, but world building and level art. A lot of that is done in-house. So for in-house artists, we want to see competencies in those spaces.
And with regards to world building, it sounds like they also need to have in-engine work.
Specifically for like environment art, 3D art, we do look for folks who have experience in Unreal. for Daphne in this situation. We know she doesn't have any experience. She's literally coming out of school. At the time when we're looking for an environment artist, we did want to look for somebody who's earlier in career specifically.
What is the goal for you when you're hiring somebody who is more junior in the industry?
So something I really believe is that I think every discipline, every team needs to have a mix of early in career and later in career folks on the same team. One, it's really great for more senior artists to be able to mentor and teach within the team. And it's a fantastic opportunity for people earlier in career who want to get their first break in the industry, and they have a safe, like, senior team to come into and learn from. So it's really great for team dynamics. Plus, like, more junior, more associate artists come in with fresh ideas. We really like her taste and her artwork here, and we think it aligns with our game.
It's a perfect match, no doubt about it.
This artist, Lou Dumont, he was one of those people very early on that I really wanted us to find an environment artist who has really good understanding of, like, stylized work, and is senior, right, and has experience shipping and working on other titles. So, he's had a background working on Crash Team Racing. He shows his process here for doing a lot of ZBrush in his work, so creating trims in ZBrush, which is really great. And you get these really fantastic, like, stylized trim sheets that are really amazing, and they're performant too. That was kind of the angle here that really got me interested in his work in particular. And yeah, he has kind of helped complement the overall style and aesthetic of Palia for sure through his work. One thing that we look for, especially for people who are more senior, is their understanding of PBR workflows. Our whole workflows in PBR, so we want to know that they understand it.
How would you define understanding?
You can usually tell, like, are they doing this on Unreal? Are they baking their lighting? Are they hand painting, like in Daphne's examples? A lot of her work was hand painted, which was not PBR, but we understood, being as early as she was in her career, that's either she understands it and just isn't doing it in her portfolio, or it's something that can be learned over time. That's fine. But somebody who's more senior, I would expect, expansive understanding of Unreal and PBR workflows.
I love this one. Really expensive.
This artist, Christophe Schacht, he was the first character artist, the 3D character artist to join the team. What's great about Christophe is, this was the piece that I remember, like, being really impressed by, because Overwatch was a game that I was looking at a lot for, like, the style of our 3D characters and just the charm. And again, it's all PBR workflows. So this was a really great piece that kind of sold me on him at the time. I also like to see an artist that is flexible, that isn't just stuck in one style. And you could see here, he plays with all kinds of different rendering, shading techniques, different processes. He's interested in a variety of styles. This is one of the coolest pieces I've seen. And it looks like a painting at any frame that you hold it on. And this early in production too, we need people with a wider scope of skills. Like, he builds rigs and understands skinning and simulation and shaders. Not as deep as, like, a very experienced technical artist would, but enough to, like, spread if he needs to tackle some of these other issues in the pipeline for us. So absolutely critical to, like, the style of our characters. Like, he kind of set the style and everything.
Style is the answer to everything.
This is another artist named Leo Ogawa Low-Rank. He is so widely versatile. Like, he is a very senior generalist, where he's got full scenes, PBR again, Unreal again, as well as individual assets like 3D characters that he's done really well. He can rig, he understands blueprints, he can set up maps. Like, having a generalist artist is super key early on in development. We wouldn't have gotten where we gotten if we didn't have somebody like that on our team, who could tackle all those issues. Because I come from concept art. The technical stuff, I have no idea, right? So I need somebody like that to rely on, who is, like, a pretty decent, artist in general in terms of traditional art, 3D artist, environment artist, can build maps, understands blueprints, understands Unreal, do all these things.
You're like a Swiss Army knife.
One of the very first artists we hired was Sasha Franceva. She is in Ukraine right now. When I started in the game, I would, I'm very comfortable with environment painting, environment concepts, so I was able to really handle that end of things. But every time I would, draw characters, I just didn't feel like the style that I could hit personally isn't what is needed for the game. And then I came across her work, and this was very early, and this was over 4.5 years ago now. I was like, that's exactly what we need. Like, her personal work and her aesthetic and the kind of the way she models the face is just so, it lives and breathes, right?
Nice.
Another concept artist more on the environment side, Alex Kintner. He is now our lead concept artist on the team. Not only is he just amazing and creative and can handle quite a wide variety, he understands stylized work, he has good color and lighting, really strong design sensibilities. But not only that, he is also very technical. This is a 3D render. I think he did it in Blender and Substance Painter. He can jam out in ZBrush too, and Blender and Unreal, as good as, an entry-level 3D artist. So, and not only that, but he actually made a full game that released with just him and his friend, where he did all of the art. Like I said before, I like to get people who are not just like masters at one sliver of art, but kind of understand the broader pipeline. So everything from animation to 3D character to VFX, I mean, he did it all in a game already and shipped it, right? So that was incredibly impressive.
Tell me a little bit more. If I was an artist who wanted to join Singularity 6, what should I be expecting? Or who do I have to write? Where do I go?
If folks are really interested in helping out Palia and S6 in particular, but I would just recommend anyone just apply on our careers page at Singularity 6. Don't try to message me directly. Please don't do that. Please don't try to, maybe if you message anyone, it's a recruiter. For us, like, seriously, when people apply on the careers page, we do look at their portfolio. Like, it does get considered and it doesn't get lost. Even if there isn't a response right away, it is in the mix. It does get my eyes at a certain point.
Tell me more about the interview process. Like, how did you build that in order to make sure that the new team member is the best fit, probably in the hard skills, soft skills?
We take seriously the candidate experience. We want it to be a good experience, not to be overwhelming, to try to create smaller panels where if you're a candidate, you're not going to be in a room with like 6 other people.
You are about to embark on what is probably the most dangerous job interview in the world.
Really what we're trying to see is how well do we think they would collaborate? What are their soft skills, social skills, things like that.
I think this is the time for us to show in some of the portfolio pieces and play a game with Jeremy of finding which artworks are authentic and which was created by AI.
AI or not AI? In this section, we show 5 images to the guest and ask for feedback. But it's not that easy. One image is generated by AI. The guest should name his favorite art piece and try to guess which one was not created by a human. You may try to guess as well. Leave your assumptions in the comments.
Let's see if you spot an AI artist.
Is this a trick?
Are you playing a trick on me?
So we have 5 pieces here, right? That's number 1.
It's nice. It's very detailed. Looks like a mix of photo bashing in there. There's also some nice painting, some good color and light. For a 3D artist, this may be a good starting point. It's a nice like postcard or key art for a scene. If I'm giving some feedback, I think it's important to make sure that we have a hierarchy of reads, that the elements in the painting that are most important are highlighted, either by lighting, by adding contrast. And right now, all I keep looking at is that path right down the middle that doesn't go anywhere. But no, really good execution, though.
Looks beautiful.
This is fun. It looks like there's multiple directions of action. You kind of have this like nice swooping from the bottom to the upper left in terms of the clouds. I really like using clouds as a way of kind of like guiding the direction of action. And there's so much dynamic foreshortening and twisting, and there's tentacles like flipping around, which is really cool. But then the beach ball is just so static. That's a place where we could tilt the ball in a way or make it bounce in a fun way. One thing that we're always trying to do in composition and storytelling is make sure that we're grouping our focal points in our line of action to keep your viewer constantly going in circles, looking at and observing the details and understanding the story over time. But otherwise, again, a really fantastic execution. I really like the color. I love the style. It feels so optimistic.
You're one hell of an optimist.
Oh man, this is so crazy. What is going on? I like this. It's like a goo man making goo babies from a trash can. So. This one does a pretty decent job of trying to like looping the composition around to tell the story. I'm interested in a lot of the details that are happening in the background on second viewing. Man, these goo babies are so distracting. I love them though. It's really cute. It's a really charming piece. I don't know. I don't have any cutting feedback. I think it looks great.
Next.
You know, I am a total sucker. I'm a total mark for forest scenes with moss overgrown and like ancient stuff and mystery. What I'd like to see in this painting is maybe just a little bit, bring me from the foreground to the background a little bit more. It kind of feels like there's this nice, strong silhouetted foreground, and then there's just like empty space until you get to the background. It seems like there's multiple techniques being used in certain areas, like the foreground foliage looks like it was painted with a different technique than the stairs. And I think it's important that we try to like use the same sort of language of mark making throughout the whole painting, so it feels not like it's a collection of separate images, but that it's a holistic painted piece.
Well, that was the last piece.
Oh boy, really?
You can choose a favorite and you can choose an AI.
I'll say the summer fun with the beach ball is my favorite. I love like those really intense dynamic scenes. I'm terrible at them, so I'm always appreciative of people pulling that off. It's tough. It's tough to get foreshortened anatomy. I think it does that pretty well here.
And which one you think is the AI one?
I think it's the forest scene. Am I wrong?
Yeah!
It was easy.
It doesn't feel like a holistic painting. It feels like there's separate like painting mark making methods in one image. And just the fact that like the staircase was like a dupe of the same staircase before. Like I know AI art likes to do that. It kind of like references itself sometimes in the way things are duped around. It's like high skill of rendering, which it does well, but sometimes spatially, proportionally, it doesn't get things right.
So we all have chance for survival. That's good.
I'll survive. I will survive.
And the authors of the second work is Yelena Katsarova.
Yeah, fantastic.
Fantastic work.
Benissimo.
Jeremy, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it for playing with me, weird games, and also answering my questions. And excited to see Palia conquering all charts and getting all the awards this year.
I'd love to plug more Palia. Yeah, open beta starts now. Just go to palia.com, sign up, play. It's free. You've got nothing to lose.
Got nothing to lose. And if you like this episode, please subscribe, follow. We would love to hear your feedback of how we can do this better. Thanks.